All right, well, thanks for coming, everyone. For those of you that haven't been here before our coffee hours, this is an opportunity for us to get together, network, talk about work that's going on in the field, seasonally appropriate work. We work with the seasons. Every year we are at the whim of Mother Nature, as we've seen real intimately here in the last couple months with the extreme cold, deep snow, and now the slush. So we do things based on what the weather's letting us do. And so these are an opportunity to network, talk about the work, talk about methods for doing that work. And we've heard many times from volunteers they're looking for more opportunities like this to get to know other volunteers and build connections. So today we're going to talk a little bit about seeding. We're going to highlight Kathy Pease's project area at Lower Mud Lake is our volunteer project spotlight today. And then we'll touch on some brush pile burning and that sort of stuff. Time for Q&A. We're sticking around afterwards if you all have more networking and talking and chatting and coffee drinking you want to do. And all of us, Shane, myself, and Claire will be there as well. So maybe we'll go around this way.
I'm Shane Otto. I'm the largest counterpart, the other botanist naturalist. Thank you all for coming today.
I'm Wendy Weisenfeld, a recently certified land steward. I mostly work at Donald Park.
And I'm Liz McBride, and I work at Donald Park.
I'm Maggie Koenig, and I'm mostly at Cap Springs.
David Lucy at Beston Park for 8 years, walking iron on and off, and Indian Lake for the last 4.
Bill Hartman, Indian Lake, Bestie, Animal, whatever.
Claire Lambert. I know all of you. Mara, I will work wherever I can. Happy Pease, forward with me.
Richard Long, Camrock, mostly work at Silverwood for Plant Time.
Jay Brooks, I work at Grand Moraine, occasionally at Donald Park, and we're known to frequent a few other parks.
Paul Sutter, I mostly work at Stewart Park.
Michael Foley, I work with Paul and Bear. Yes.
I'm Mary McDonaldson. Hi, I'm Teresa Nelson. I'm a water resource engineer with Dane County Land and Water Resources, and I've been working on our stormwater facilities in our park, so through many of them that you've mentioned already. So learning a little bit more about the land management aspects of things. So if you have any questions about any of the stormwater facilities at your parks, you're welcome to give me Megan Duffy. I'm also an engineer. So.
Hi, now Wabisa Wetland. John Kessler, Schumacher.
Gathering up the PowerPoint.
A big shout out to Jack Lawton there on the cover with his wife Bonnie. Jack is very intimately involved with our native seed program for creating seed mixes for all of our parks that the mixes go out to. He puts in hundreds of hours every year refining and updating and managing our seed database. So this year we had 3,000 pounds of seed plus a lot of hundreds of pounds of purchase seed. And he's very hardworking in helping us to create the software that helps to distribute the seed in many different directions. And many of the seed mixes are going out to a lot of you. So Jack is the man behind the scenes there, and this is in Wayne. So
67 different mixes he put together.
All right, go ahead, Claire. You want to take this one?
I'll take this one. Up until yesterday, this was blank, so way to go us. Our upcoming training opportunities are, as you all should have gotten an email inviting you, except for March 2nd, Saturday is our Land and Water Volunteer Summit. This has had some different names, but basically a time for our friends groups, volunteers, watershed groups that come together, network. We have a nice agenda put together this year. C.B. Kenyon, our our Dane County photographer will be talking about awe and how we experience awe. So he'll be our speaker this year. Last year we had Kelly Daniels from Minnesota Alliance for Volunteer Advancement give a really nice keynote on volunteer recognition and retention and kind of that what makes volunteers volunteer and do the things that they like to do and be passionate about what they do. So we look to adjust this agenda, going forward, just in terms of the variety of things that we touch on. But I think this year we have a panel on community science things, and then another panel on. Everyone wants to tell me because I forget this panel. Someone else put it together. But it'd be a nice time for everyone to get together and learn from each other and learn from the speakers presenting. That agenda is in that email that you all have gotten. If you didn't get that email, let me know. But I would love to see some of our land stewards there. If you're able to come. Wednesday, March 6th is our next Certified Land Steward Coffee Hour. The time we changed a bit just to be 9:45 to 11:45. We'll be putting together an agenda in the next coming weeks, but that's on sign up, so you can use the same link you used today to go there and sign up for it. March 16th, Saturday, is our prescribed burn annual refresher. I'll let Lawrence and Shane talk more about that if you would like.
Yeah, so we don't have all of our protocols in place for the future of Dane County Parks burning program. But one thing that we would like everyone to do, if you're going to plan on burning with us, is come to that annual refresher. In the morning, it's PowerPoint on safety and what you should wear, what to expect when you come to a Dane County Parks prescribed burn. And then in the afternoon session, we have a hands-on, we'll call it field portion, whether it might not be in the field, it might be in the Heritage Center, but we do sand tables, which are interactive fire scenarios. We also show you guys how to work some of our equipment and just a variety of different things that get us ready, get our mind ready for fire season. So they'll be coming up. So if you want to burn with us, we want you there.
So you guys are running it, right? Not that DNR.
Yes, this is the annual fire refresher is different than the volunteer fire training. Yes.
That was a baseline training that you only have to go through once.
Okay.
And you're done. This is the annual refresher that we put on just so everyone, maybe they haven't burned with us in a few years, they just can now come on board. I got several emails about it. If you're not able to attend that day, we're going to try and record it this year and send it out to everyone afterward. Figuring out the logistics on that.
Do you need to go to the baseline training? Is that a prerequisite?
It will be starting 25.
Okay.
But it is not now.
Okay.
But in that email about the prescribed burn refresher, there was a link to some MATC SM30. We're also SM30 190 classes, like continue that sentence. We're also looking at what does our training for that look like going forward. Ralph Shepard from the DNR, who taught a few of our trainings, he's retiring. So we're adjusting that too. We recognize that our standards or what we would like for our standards are higher than like what seems maybe reasonable. We're just trying to adjust given the county's level of safety.
Do you have enough volunteers for prescribed burns generally?
We usually have 60 people attend that training, so it's something like 30 to 60.
That's not a big problem for you, for personnel.
We have,
It's actually hard to sign up. When I go in, it's full.
Okay.
we try to make it more reasonable to get more volunteers coming at burns over the course of a week. So like limiting the number of people who can sign up for a certain amount of burns. And then I've solidified chainsaw class dates with our instructor, and I just have to play around with getting them online. But we'll have, we should say, we'll have 3 in the spring, 4 in the fall. Be a combination of saw level 1, 2, and we're going to have 1 saw level 3 this year. So if you have both saw certifications and you'd like an advanced level 3, that will be there. We're also going to introduce a 2-day Chainsaw 101 class for like people that are really beginners at chainsawing. We had several women and gender minorities chainsaw classes this year that were grant funded. Thanks for Fund for Women and the Foundation for Dane County Parks, which was awesome. And that was a 2-day 101 setup, very similar. So we're gonna play around with that and see how that goes with our current instructor, which is exciting.
Is anything available on the weekend at all?
Yes.
Out of all of those?
Yes.
Okay, I've got a friend that is interested in doing that, but she.
Yeah, it will be a combination thereof. So that will be coming out in the next week or two once I finish some details online. And as always, if you have any other trainings you think you want, need, tell us about it. We can't put them on if we know, unless we know there's interest in doing it. So.
All right, today we are going to spotlight Lower Mud Lake Natural Resource Area, which Kathy Pease is here joining us today, the Certified Land Steward working that area, heading up this effort for the last 4 or so years, I would say. Lower Mud Lake is just southeast of McFarland, along the edge of Mud Lake, transitioning along the Yahara River down into Lake Kegonsa, ties in with Fish Lake County Park and close to the Door Creek Wildlife Area. Show of hands, anyone been to Lower Mud before? Anybody? Has anyone been to Lower Mud Lake Natural Resource Area before? Just a couple of folks, yeah. So this would be an area to check out, especially in the circle area where Kathy and her volunteers are putting in the majority of their efforts off the Hidden Farm Road. Lovely dead end, mostly gravel road, I think, still.
Yeah, the northern part is Pease.
Yes, great place to take a walk. A lot of other lands in the area tie into DNR properties, and some of our lands are still in agriculture, some are wooded. A lot of opportunity for pretty large scale restoration out there, and improvements to water quality as we continue to restore those properties.
What's the focus in the circle area right now?
Yeah, so that's, why don't you go to the next couple slides here, Claire? We'll zoom in. Yeah, good. You're right on track, Richard. So here's a look down over Lower Mud Lake, which is kind of a big bulge of the Yahara River, downstream of Babcock County Park, before it enters Lake Kegonsa. Beautiful view shed there, looking out over some old fields, some nice old oak woodlands, some good photographers in the area that capture some very nice pictures of the landscape. Here's some grasslands that we are converting from overgrown thicket of willow, honeysuckle, and junk to more of a open savanna-esque habitat that we have been controlling weeds, overseeding into the brome, and hopefully we'll get the first prescribed burn into this area very soon. Next one here. Very nice, high quality woodland at the top of that hill. This is if you look at the other direction from that previous viewpoint almost. About a 5-acre nice white oak woodland with some very intact Indian mounds still within the site. So Kathy and her crew, if you want to go to the next one, are clearing out this woodland, which is sort of, I would say, kind of the centerpiece of this project area. Rita from Silverwood is joining the gang, and a little land steward overlap there. So they've been doing a wonderful job opening it up, releasing some of these very old, very healthy, mature white oaks, giving the understory some more sunlight. A lot of natives are coming back on their own. We've got lots of geraniums, bottlebrush grass, trout lily galore, red trillium coming back. What am I missing, Kathy?
There's some bloodroot too.
Lots of bloodroot, yep. A little bit more to go as far as taking down bigger trees. The little stuff is out of there, but a very high quality, high potential woodland with a lot of nice plants already existing. Soon Kathy and the crew will be overseeing some native grasses in there to get some fuel established, take up some space to push out some of the invasives, hedge parsley, a little bit of garlic mustard, Dane pocket, but really not that bad. as far as I'm concerned, with the weeds compared to a lot of other parks.
Most of it's along the edges.
Yes, exactly. A lot of firewood goes out the door here, just like a lot of the parks that you all look at. I'll leave it there right at the gravel bed in the road for people to pick up. What we got next here? Yeah. Oh, and then we've been starting to burn other sections of formerly planted prairie that sort of went unmanaged for a while, coming in with cedars, brush, sumac, small trees. Couple of years, maybe 2-3 years of burning in this, Kathy, is that about right?
Two.
It's really flipped the site from pretty much dominated by cool season grasses to a lot of warm season grasses and native forbs out there. Would say the indigo is probably the most abundant.
It's just out of control.
Yeah.
It was just amazing with the burn and different it looked and how many things were there. And, you know, you hear that things are there when you pick them up. And it wasn't there.
They sure did. Yep, so that's really kind of kicked it into high gear. And then one of my favorite parts of this property is this white oak on the right. There you go. From this distant vantage point, it does not look, too much out of the ordinary, but this is probably the largest white oak, especially that I have seen in our entire Dane County Park system, with a branching structure that's just unbelievable. I would really recommend visiting it, not only just for this tree here that you can very easily see off the Hidden Farm Road. A few years ago, when Kathy started working with us, that oak was shrouded by trees like you have on the left, a lot of junk trees, a lot of Japanese knotweed that we've been contending with, which is one of the worst, most stubborn invader to try to eradicate, although we're getting pretty far along the way with that mission. And then all around the edge of that white oak, we have begun overseeding native prairie and are continuing to control of the weeds and brush. A couple little white oaks coming up around it. I can imagine that tree is easily 300 to 400 years old, so good to see its babies starting to come up around. Is it? Yep. And then Kathy, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your workday schedule and what kind of helpers you're looking for and that sort of thing.
I'll take anybody who wants to come out for any length of time. I'm pretty flexible. I live right across the street, so I always tell people if you can only come for an hour or two, that's great. And if you can't come that day, you can let me know if you're out there. But we're still doing a small tree removal, brush removal, so sawyers, haulers. In the summer, we need people to work on mowing and pulling and spraying weeds. There's still a lot. It's just amazing when I look out my living room window and see the snow compared to what it looked like. And I would encourage people to come out. There's 2.5 miles of mown trails. A lot of people go out there and walk the walks. It's really beautiful any time of year.
Absolutely. And Kathy works every season as well. So summertime, a lot of people don't like working outside, but Kathy's out there with her volunteers doing the weed work. That's very important component of what we do. So the parsnip and thistles were big last year, hedge parsley. But an unbelievable job that you're doing out there, Kathy, and really, really commendable.
I'm always surprised at how much small group of volunteers can accomplish in a short amount of time. Change the, I hope about that oak. It's changed the whole entire area.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What date it was canceled last Friday? Is that going to be made up or just 15? Are they monthly?
Well, that was a county workday. I have 2 workdays, one tomorrow and one February 23rd. And I'm just kind of waiting to see what the weather's going to be like before I schedule in March. But usually I try to have a couple of months organized and then more informal.
Is there sign up for tomorrow or?
There is.
Oh,
It's on the Dane County events page.
okay. All right.
So see Kathy at the end of the day today, if you want to connect with her and help her out.
We just informed Kathy today that we'll be giving her a very full gift bag of needle grass. If you're interested in that project,
Well, probably be
sure.
like
Let her know.
early March.
Yes.
Oh, I have plant things to do.
Question on the Japanese knotweed, or is that gonna come up later?
No.
What's working? I saw it somewhere, I can't remember where it was, but I gotta keep an eye on it.
Oh, yeah. So we have been treating it with a combination of mowing in the summer and then letting those fresh resprouts come up and be about this tall, about August, September timeframe, and then treating that with milestone, strong treatment milestone. So those fresh tender shoots that are only about this tall suck in a lot more than old ragged shoots at the end of the season. And that is what we've been advised by folks that have treated it and successfully treated it. And we are seeing good progress, I'd say, right, Kathy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
When we started, it was so dense. It was like 10, 12 feet tall. The deer would just disappear.
Yeah.
Interesting side note is a couple of years ago, I noticed that Japanese beetles were feasting on the knotweed. So I think they've been helping. My hope is that the grubs are also eating the roots of the ground, so the next thing that happens is that.
I'd like to make a comment if you haven't had a long-term experience with that type. I know places in Rockdale where the stuff was just formed like central, almost including properties. And it was mowed since, I don't know, it's mowed for 50 years and never seen. It's really prolific now where people are here. So it's down there.
Still in there.
You're very afraid.
All right, thank you, Kathy, for being our spotlight today.
Hey, Lars.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a natural resource area and a wildlife?
Oh, yeah, good question. So both, I would say, are kind of on the more protected, less developed end of our spectrum of property types. Wildlife areas are wide open to hunting according to the DNR seasons.
Okay.
Whereas natural resources areas are still a permit system, limited permit archery only, deer, turkey. So they're not wide open, but we do have some hunting.
Okay.
That would be pretty much like the main difference. The resource areas and the wildlife areas both have very limited, if any, infrastructure, trails, buildings, parking lots. Resource areas tend to, I think, protect water bodies a lot of the times, like streams and lakes and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Whereas hunting is more the focus on these wildlife areas.
Okay. So from our point of view, they're managed pretty much the same.
Very
Like
similar.
the landforms that you're going after, the woodland, prairie, whatever.
Yes. Regardless of the classification, we're always looking to restore natural community types. So prairie, oak savanna, oak woodland, and so on and so forth.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Mhm. Okay, so maybe back and forth on this one. We just finished up. This was our big season for seed processing, and we recently, and I think many of you have finished helping us with our seed weighing effort. We have in there Mary Binkley, there we go. We weighed out all 36 or 3,000 pounds of collected seed plus several hundred pounds of purchased seed. Have gotten that out to most of you all and are doing a lot of that planting ourselves, especially in our agricultural transitions from ag fields to cropland or to prairie. So thank you very much for all the folks that helped in this massive effort. Couldn't do it without you all.
I'd like to jump in.
Yeah.
The town of Berry Prairie was one of the recipients of all of the seed collecting, which we never knew that was an option, and we were prepared to shell out $800 to buy seeds to seed this area that had been invasive cattail and wheat canary grass, and we were so pleasantly surprised to find out that this was available, and we are seeding it down this afternoon at 3:30.
Nice.
And wondering if you want all the Ziploc baggies back? Because
If you think about it, sure, we reuse them, but we know if they go out, they don't always come back, but we're not. We will accept them back. Yeah. And you can put that $800 right here. We'll make it $700. You guys say no.
The town spent that on salt for the road.
Oh, yeah. Any questions about weighing or comments before we move on?
I have comments.
Yeah.
So this email will go out at some point in the near future. Just like a recap of the seed season, how much we collected, acreage, the volunteer hours. But for you all, right, we collected about 3,000 pounds of clean seed again this year. That was 1,600 hours of volunteer time, which is pretty amazing. We have seed collections from September through November, twice a day, almost every day of the week, which not everyone realizes, but it's a significant effort. And there's probably way more hours that go into it even than what I have. That's just what our work days collectively was brought to about 1,600 hours. And then cleaning that seed, I think I want to say it was somewhere between 600 and 700 hours. So it's a significant area of volunteer time, and we can do that without you. So thanks to everyone that contributes to that in some way. And then I will share this individually, but we've had some people ask about requesting seed and how to do that and who that applies to. If you're not already aware, the volunteer webpages got a significant facelift this year. I didn't announce it, just I didn't know if anyone was really that interested, but on those web pages, there's specific pages about this kind of work. So there's a native seed program page, and on that page you can find a form to request those seeds. And Lars likes to have them in by June.
As early as possible, then we can plan and collect. Maybe even collect for them, and then a lot of times they start trickling in around December, which is
Too late.
too late. Way too late. So earlier the better is awesome.
And that form might get a facelift also.
All right.
Yeah, I'll keep everyone updated. But if you want to seed an area within your parks this year, that would be the way to do it. Answer questions on that.
Claire, you mentioned volunteer hours. Do you have a way of pulling them off of the ISM site, or do you need them?
We can talk separately. I haven't fully. I saw your email. I haven't fully answered that question with the people we need to. But good reminder: volunteer hours. Get them to me. Have it already.
Can I ask a question about seed? I noticed in this beautiful handbook that on the sample planning document that's in the back, one of the appendices, it talks about, it has seed spreading as an April activity. And I just wanted to make sure that I'm right in that our seed should be going down before March, grass seed. Man, I know about the Forbes situation, but should we be holding back some seed if there's going to be a planned burn, or just go for it? Or what's your?
Yeah, well, you've seen, we've done some Earth Day seeding with OFS at Stewart Park, and some of those grasses and rye will come in with those late seedings. And
yes,
proof of it over at your place, but typically you want to get those planted in the winter time.
okay.
But now, even
okay.
earlier, otherwise you hold them until spring too late. Your forbs especially aren't gonna like that. They want to
Yes.
be in the soil,
Yes.
not on top of the soil, and you need that frost action to work into the soil. So,
Okay. I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure I wasn't missing something about any particular species that we should wait for until.
now you can get away with it, pushing a little bit more with your grasses, but really even the grasses can go like now or earlier. So,
We do have some sites where we are going to burn and want to wait for that. So there is both scenarios.
The other question that I have, or just an observation, is that the grass seed mixes that I got this year, look different. It's like the, chaff is, I was wondering if the stuff that's grass alone, those mixes, if the chaff is just chaff from grasses, or what's different? It looks different to me, but maybe.
yes, good question. I think we've gotten that question a couple times. Well, the purpose of the chaff or sawdust is to expand your mix. So you're diluting it and you don't have in one handful 1,000 or 5,000 seeds. You only have 100 seeds or less.
Sure.
With the grasses, those are very big seeds. And they've got a lot of awns and branches sometimes attached to them. And so when you grab a handful of grasses, especially when you think about Canada wild rye, you probably don't have 5,000 seeds in your hand. You probably have 100 seeds in your hand or something like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it doesn't need to be diluted as much.
Okay,
It's kind of already bulky in itself.
okay,
And that's why with rye and some other, we just didn't put a lot of chaff.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked different. It throws you.
yeah, good question.
It
Yeah,
seems-
yeah.
It seems good. All right. great.
Change it to a follow-up question.
Yeah.
So you said you're delaying the seeding on the prescribed burns. Is that because you want to put it down on mineral earth or because the fire is going to damage the seed?
There's a couple properties where we want to do that. And one is to make better seed soil contact. The example is silverwood, one of them. And there's a lot of oak leaves on the ground right now. So after we burn it, theoretically, the oak leaves will be gone. We'll be able to get better seed. Of course, if we would spread it before the leaves are gone, right now, the seed will be sitting on top of those leaves and likely damaged from fire. So just a little bit different scenario than, a regular prairie or something like that. As a matter of fact, today, out at Kathy's, Mud Lake, we're spreading the seed over bone grass and hoping that'll work its way down to the soil, and not be affected by fire. So, we have different strategies for different pieces of ground and what the fuels are. So,
Thank you.
Best case scenario, we could get the leaf litter off these oaks, oak woodland, maybe a fall burn or rake it off, and then get it seeded in the winter also. But it's just not always going to happen. We gotta make sure we get contact with soil, not on top of the leaf litter. That's not good.
With the snow, I noticed it's nice to be able to see the grass seed that we've been mowing one day. I noticed some people have a little thicker than others. Could you give us like a ballpark, like on the tabletop, how many seeds you'd like to see?
Oh, yeah.
Probably a handful.
Yeah, so we measure out our seed mixes to be approximately 40 to 80 seeds per square foot. So if you were to look at your snow and put out 2 rulers and look at a square foot, you would look to see that there's about 40 to 80 seeds in that square foot.
Wow.
Here's like a good picture on the screen.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Like you kind of like when you're spreading salt on a sidewalk, you kind of want to see a similar pattern of density, I guess.
and if it was all wild rye, we wouldn't want 60 seeds. That would be more of a mix like this we're talking about.
Okay.
The average mix of this, some
Yep.
combination that overall 40, 60
Yeah.
specs.
Yeah, but there's going to be some exceptions, like if we're adding diversity to a site. that already has a good number of natives, maybe we don't need to be that dense and go to 20 seeds per square foot.
Big pictures.
Yeah. You want to talk about your seed libraries real quick, just for the plug-in?
Yeah. So don't really know the best or like the clearest story on how this exactly originated, but Susan Sanford, our strategic engagement coordinator, she's been working with the Madison Public Libraries, and then Teresa, you connected us to the Oregon Public Library, and we work with Monona Public Library as well on incorporating native seeds into their free seed libraries. So a lot of libraries now are starting to have these free seed libraries where it's like vegetables or annual flowers that people can just take and maybe they grow them and then bring it back. With these, the idea was that we wanted to partner with the libraries to include native seeds, and that's, they probably won't follow the same model when I ask them for the seeds back, but this year I think we had 8 different seed packets, a mix of Sonny species, black-eyed Susan, and butterfly milkweed, and golden Alexander, and lavender hyssop in there. The olive grass was kind of semi-shade, and then we had a seed mix for the first time. And these are really just packets for the homeowner to have in their garden. It's nothing substantial. It's what you get in a hardware store or something like that. But it's really nice. She did a nice job with the labels. There's a link on these labels where you can go to learn how to stratify these seeds and sow them and get them to germinate. And it was a really nice plug. We worked with, this is me and Rachel at the Monona Public Library, and we worked with, I think we had 3 other events at other libraries where volunteers came and packaged that seed with us. So I think in total we packaged, I want to say like 8,000 packets or something like that. Maybe more. I just know that in one night we packaged 3,000 packets, and we had about 30 volunteers at about 3 events, and maybe 2 other events we had 15 to 20. One we were supposed to have 60, but thankfully only had 30, but that would have been a lot. But Penny Library, one of the participating Madison locations, they already ran out of seeds 2 weeks after we had the event. So it's really highly popular among Madison residents and I think others in outside communities as we work to expand. Everyone wants a bit of native seeds in their landscaping, I think, which is awesome. And it's nice to be able to plug the fact that all our volunteers are doing this amazing work and having it be recognized by doing this for the community. So that's pretty cool.
Along with that, along the same lines, the town of Barry has a prairie behind their town hall. And we have a crew of people that have gone out there all spring, summer, and fall, collected about 30 to 40 different species. And what we've done is we put them into little lunch baggies, little small ones, and then make them available at voting time. So last year in November, when it was 2 years ago, November, we had 100 baggies and put them out there for the town of Barry people to share our prairie with them, and they all disappeared before noon, so the later voters didn't get any. So we're going to go at 200 bags this year, and then bring out maybe 20 an hour, 10 an hour, and try to have them make it to the end of the day. So everybody gets a little bit of that.
That's awesome, Dave. Thanks for sharing. I'm glad that's happening. Awesome.
This might be the one exception where our seeds end up in private lands, but it's such a promotional, popular thing and such a small amount of seed. Otherwise, we get probably 5 to 10 partner groups, public entities, nonprofit schools that ask for seed that we give to, and then all of our park project areas get seed. So seed mix.
Yeah. So this year, we had over 3,000 pounds to mix. We thought it was going to be a bit of an overwhelming task, and we had 2 days scheduled for mixing seeds, and remarkably we finished in 1 day. The volunteers really worked hard to do that. It's really a dusty job mixing. As you know, when we put our seed mixes together, we add the ballast, the old chaff, so it's really dusty when we're doing that. So it's kind of a dirty job. Maybe it should be on dirty jobs. Is that what you're But it worked out really good to get it done in one day. Appreciate all your participation and hard work on getting that done. So, we didn't anticipate getting the seeds out. We're hoping to get seeds out after snow that came right after that. That was the whole goal. And then, we have like 2 feet of snow, couldn't plant right afterwards. So, but thanks for your efforts through their helping us.
I'll just add that in the past, we used to just bag the seed in the individual packets and send them out for you all to do the mixing. And we have so many volunteers that like to do the mixing, and we have this nice facility. So we're starting now to do it for you. And I think I reached out to several of you to make sure that was something you would appreciate. And it sounds like unanimously, yes, you would love to have the seed pre-mixed with chaff and then given to you. That helps with your work. Because it is a lot of work to do it on a tarp in the garage or whatever. So let us know in the future if you ever don't want your seed mixed, because we will usually probably do it from now on.
Yeah, and one of the reasons for starting this, in addition to making it just easier for being out in the field, is we're just looking at more ways, or I guess now as a team, we're looking at ways to make events more accessible. And so, being in an indoor heated facility with very level ground, a way to take breaks, a way to use the bathroom, makes this kind of volunteer to be more accessible to those folks who might not be able to do something in the field, especially in the wintertime. It's a pretty valuable asset, I think, to those folks. So in a way, it's unfortunate that I only took one day, because I know there was people on the second day who were looking forward to that. But on the other hand, it's a very easy activity and super nice that we can do it this way. So
Big shout out to Roland for getting that room closed in, lighted, and heated.
yeah, thanks, Roland.
Yeah, every time we see Roland, thank you, Roland.
Yeah, if you haven't noticed, Libby Road, the third day has some excellent lighting overhead, is heated, some major upgrades over the last few years. Certainly make it easier for you to navigate in there. So yeah, Roland's awesome. If you haven't met him yet, feel free to ask for a special introduction. He's cool.
Yeah, so we had a really deep snow. Our equipment is not good at planting the prairies with that snow being so deep. UTV, the tracks can get through it, but then the seeder has a hard time getting pulled through the snow and distributing the seed like it should, because the wheels oftentimes plow the snow instead of rolling like it's meant to. So there's kind of an optimum time when you can plant the prairies. And so we went from no snow to a bunch of snow to extremely cold weather, and now the snow is going faster than you can imagine. So we decided last week that we were going to make a big effort this week to do a bunch of our seedings. And after today, we will be pretty much done with every mechanical seeding we need to do except for walking iron, an area we call the Big Wet restoration, which there'll be about 200 acres to do out there. So we're hoping that we get one more week where we can knock that out in a week. But John Side and Chris Cole have been out doing that for us this week. They just planted the Pheasant Branch yesterday, which high profile restoration. We still will need to add some top coat, we'll call it a purchase seed from the Friends group once that arrives. But the whole thing has been coated, so we're feeling good about establishment on it. So we still need to do a lot of the hand seedings, but basically we're done with exciting week for us. Massive. How many acres? We get over 100, 150 acres. 100.
Yeah, seeding by hand. So, our program model is really staff and volunteers partnering with the different methods that we can bring to the table. And we've got some fancy tools that do awesome work, but it can't all be mechanization. Blending these different methods together is really the secret sauce here. So there's always going to be a very high need for hand seeding, especially when you're talking about wooded sites with trees, with stumps, uneven ground. at Stewart, for God's sakes, on the slopes that you can't drive a machine on.
Indian Lake.
Yeah,
Donald.
I mean, you gotta have all the tools in the toolboxes that both staff and volunteers bring. So I know a lot of you have been at this already this week. Thank you, congratulations, your timing is impeccable. There's still more time for those of you that haven't. We've talked about this, and we've got some more slides, I think. Yes, here we go. So, yeah, go ahead.
Are all of the times that you see online, so that you need volunteers? I've only seen that one.
Really good question. Yes. So a lot of our seed goes out to friends groups and volunteers.
Oh, okay.
They may put on our website that they're seeding, maybe not all the time if they don't need a lot of volunteers, but a lot of the seeding goes out to our friends and they put it down. The seeding that we do in-house is often with our machinery, but then we do have a few events that we speckle in where there isn't a friends group or a volunteer tied to that park, but we can't do it with equipment. So next Friday, I think you're signed up to come to Lakeview Hill, and that is the back 5 acres of woods. And we've got a lot of woodland grasses to put down. So we will have, maybe last year we had 3 or 4. This year we'll have Lakeview and maybe a couple more coming down the line. Hard to say for sure, but not a whole lot that we host. Yeah.
And just shout out, I mean, these pictures are older, but they're from Prairie Marine. You can see a dog in there. It's in the off-leash dog park, and Jay just had a seeding event with other members of Friends of Prairie Marine and other volunteers this past Saturday at Prairie Marine. We got that online. It was included in the seed email that went out. Same with Liz's seeding event, also on Saturday, I think. So, and Mary has one coming up in February that was also in that email. Another plug, you know, the way our events for volunteer stuff will be shown online is going to be changing this next year. I've talked about Better Impact a few times now. That will have a wider conversation and training associated with it, but I'm not always able to check the event calendar all the time. I do approve the events. Sometimes other staff approve them, but if you have a seeding event you want to share, you want volunteers for an event you're doing, I always get those emails from folks, phone call to let me know that that's in my inbox. Sometimes it's helpful. But I'm happy to promote your events and get them out to folks like tomorrow who might want to join on your seeding events.
I must have missed an email.
Maybe, if you miss an email, then that's it, but,
Claire, is that, you know, when you fill your volunteer forms or have the folks fill their volunteer forms, you have them check boxes on things they'd like to do. Could that possibly be not checked or something, and that's why they're not receiving?
I'm sure tomorrow gets
No, I
everything.
just probably overlooked it.
But,
Right.
right, if you.
Could that be possibly for
It
some other person?
could possibly be a thing, yeah. When you fill out your volunteer registration form, you get assigned to the email list that you have an interest in. If that interest changes, or sometimes we've had some issues with our email platform, Constant Contact. You know, if you're not seeing my emails, it might be going to spam if it's not in there, or there's some other issue at hand. Again, the kind email platform is changing with Better Impact, so that communication will change. Should be receiving email.
I probably overlooked it. I get a lot of emails.
Yeah.
And it's just
I
my
know.
own spaciness that.
All good.
Do you think, Claire, that whenever that announcement goes out about when, you know, hey, it's time to pick up your seed, could you just say, contact, you know, reach out, or in your response to this, let me know if you are going to be scheduling seed events, and if I can put that in our monthly newsletter, because it might be easier for people who are interested in seeding to look and see the array of who got seed and reach out to them based on, you know. So anyway, it might be a nice way to get help.
Yeah.
I just kind of had it in mind that we were going to be seeding on the days that, you know, that on the work days that I knew were going to be coming up, but it wouldn't have necessarily occurred to me that I should go back to do for everything.
Yeah, no, that's a good, thank you, Mary, that's a good point. Always something to be refined.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to this year. Lots of refinement coming down the line.
So I guess there's a couple different seeding techniques that we kind of advocate. One I would say is to attempt an even coat across an entire area. Rarely do we have a perfect rectangle seeding unit, as I think Liz and Wendy saw at Donald Park, and a lot of undulations in their seeding unit as well, and curves and turns. But the hardest thing you'll probably ever have with volunteer management is to get people to walk roughly shoulder to shoulder across an area uniformly. It is very hard, whether you're seeding or grading an area for weeds. There's always one person that goes way ahead. There's always laggers. But if you can try your best, it doesn't have to be an exact science. Do a nice even coat across an area from left to right. Then go to the next one, Claire. If you are concerned that your coat has a lot of gaps and miss areas, you might want to crosshatch that seeding by going back in this way. Sometimes it's unnecessarily. Yesterday we were out with friends of Lake Eganza and we did a really nice once across. We had plenty of people. We weren't too far apart and we didn't crosshatch it. Other times it feels like you don't have enough people. And a crosshatching technique is very valuable to fill in all those gaps and cracks across that whole area. A broadcaster can very nicely go across back and forth looking at their tracks, making rows of their tracks and do it uniformly. People are a different story. It's hard, really hard to get them to nice uniformly go across. But a crosshatching might be a good recommendation.
If you your pass of seed in a straight line and you still have seed remaining, you can also crosshatch with that. So, even if you have a tight group,
Sometimes despite your best efforts, it just doesn't work the way you want it to. We had a group of high school kids from Chicago coming out to Healthy Park, so I was going to have them do a hillside, and I went out there and I counted stakes on both ends of the field, and I spaced them apart. I had 1 5-gallon pail for each of those stakes. Explained to the kids, you've got to cover this area back and forth with your pail from this stake to this stake, and if you have some extra, then come back and stay in your area and do it again. But you got to make this pail last till that next section of hillside. And then I said, okay, go. And I started seeding myself, and about 2 minutes later, what do you do when your pail's empty? It's one of the adults.
Yeah. There's always folks that go really fast through seed, and there's always folks that look like they've never put a handful out yet.
She wasn't going fast. She just wasn't using the technique.
Yeah.
Let's see the pail as fast as you can.
A nice demonstration is always good. Salt and pepper shaker, not all at once, and then having your stakes is very helpful. If people can't see where their end point is, they have no way to calibrate as they're going how much they should be putting out. So I've done it once where I say, go to that tree, and no one knows what tree it is, and they all have a different idea where the endpoint is, but having stakes in the ground that you cannot confuse with something else is a wonderful technique. So something to keep in mind.
Actually, let's see this home in the trees this year.
There you go. There you go.
I was thinking, how do you, in the middle of winter, how do you get those stakes in the ground? And the ground is for.
We did that. This was a fall thing.
Oh, okay.
So it was not snow on the ground kind of thing. So I just said, we have to cover this area. And I thought that would work. But
We know.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking at, where'd you get your cones from, Jay?
We have them in our shed. We put them going down to see them, and because of the swell coming uphill, somebody had a really idea. Just put them in the tree. Great.
Maybe we should get some of those like lightweight cones and have them up in the road.
Yeah.
There's stakes there too, but that doesn't help.
I've used that, you know, and I'm a sprout, and you can find them lying along the highway all the time.
Yeah.
But and whether they're big or little, you pick that one, and it works really well.
Yeah.
Okay, this might be the other main technique that we've used. Liz did this recently at Donald, whether you know it or not. The first coating of seeds can be done with a piece of equipment. So we'll come out and we'll paint an area with our broadcaster with an even coating of basic seed mix across the entire farm field. So in this case, we painted this farm field yellow. And then we set out individual bags of species, unmixed, for volunteers to put out. Maybe these are special limited amount species. Maybe they go in certain areas, or maybe we want them to be more in a clustered pattern and not dispersed evenly across the site. And so we'll have volunteers start in the middle of that block of prairie seeding, and each volunteer will take one bag with one species in the bag, maybe a couple pounds, and they'll just kind of wander around and dribble out seed as they go, throw a little here, throw a little there. They're not attempting to cover the entire field evenly with that seed. They're just trying to make little patches, little runs, little stripes, kind of what you see more true to nature where species occur in clumps. They're not uniformly distributed in a confetti pattern across a prairie. They're usually in little clumps and populations. So with Liz and Wendy, what you all did at Donald.
Well, we're doing this Saturday.
Oh, this one's going this Saturday. Oh, this is good. Okay.
Yeah.
So starting in the middle is always nice because then you can be most confident that your seed isn't going to end up only in one side or one corner of that parcel. Start in the middle. Everyone takes a bag and they go in separate directions. And in the case of Liz and Wendy, they are going to be seeding a lower, wetter section of that field with more wet-loving plants. If those plants would have been seeded uniformly across the field, it would have been a waste because the field got drier and drier on one side. So we're giving them the more wet-loving species for the lower area. We've cordoned off one side with stakes so that the volunteers clearly know not to go farther past the stakes. And then let them have fun with it and let them throw it up in the air and throw around, do curlicues, tuck into the corners, tuck along the edges. And, you know, it's pretty miraculous what they look like in the next growing season. Eventually, when they mature, you'll see runs and patches and stripes in a lot of our prairies, which then in turn makes it really nice and easy to collect off those patches. They're in nice and easy to walk stripes where you can just put them all in your bag. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can we draw that freehand or that's everyone can draw?
I drew a dog with that.
Yeah, I drew that on PowerPoint. So.
Did the 2-year-old do that?
Yeah.
And, or, when you go ready to do this, get a hold of a bunch of 2-year-olds and then lead you around that pattern.
Yeah. This is what it looked like from the sky.
I did this. If you want me to sign this at some point,
A question before we go off seed slarts. I've talked to a couple people today about slopes.
Mhm.
And I'm hearing Jane had a way to do it, Jane had another way to do it. What's people's experience about single species on slope? Because the footing has been really terrible.
So specifically how
Well,
to.
let's say that the ridge, the Sutter Drive of Savannah Ridge, would you bottom to top, top to bottom, side to side? How would you space people out for the best?
We'll see if he gives you the right answer.
Going up and down does not work. I usually have them go parallel to the slope, back and forth, and you can always see where where you were before. I'm talking about one person doing it. If you had a number of them,
Had a number of
I'd
people.
have somebody start at the bottom going kind of parallel with the slope, perpendicular to the slope, and have somebody coming down from the top and have them be
Well, you would go from bottom to top or top to bottom as opposed to horizontally.
Horizontally is what people.
Horizontally is what you're doing.
Yeah, but the slope is so steep, I just think it's gonna be pretty taxing for anybody to actually climb up
Yeah.
the Indian Lake, and that's got all the steep.
And then
So,
coming down, it's probably even more treacherous.
Yeah,
we've got
right.
stumps and rocks buried, so it
We
just
do
gets
too.
a little treacherous. So I think that going horizontally is best.
What he was saying is theoretically, you
Yeah.
have two people paralleling each other,
Right.
going back and forth.
Well, we'll have, we will have 10 people, but it's a long, long area. So maybe we can get the units. 5 people. 20 people. Is that what you were going to say?
No.
Across the slope? About it? Yeah.
Thought about it perfectly. Any other questions about seeding before we move on?
Was there much impact from last year being a drought year? And how much seed you got, or is it pretty drought resistant?
Yeah, so I think we saw definite impact on the drought. Some species we collected very little of, and some species were gangbusters. And I think that has to do with the root system and, the water that's available to each plant because of how the roots go. I mean, we've probably collected more than we've ever collected in our lives. And there was a few species like that. And then other species that we normally are, pretty bountiful were pretty shy this year. So kind of a really big lots and some really small ones.
Okay. Spiderboard, shooting star.
Spiderboard has been one of our mainstays in our mixes for the last 6 years. This year was a couple pounds basically.
Oh, wow.
And we ended up harvesting ours on official wildlife service property. We had none on our parks.
I was surprised how much seed it get, actually. And I was surprised at how well the seedlings that had to tolerate drought, the new seedlings, did. I'm surprised how well they did. Some of our first year prairies
Looked fabulous.
Yeah.
Which was unbelievable to us.
prairie plants are amazing. Other questions on seeding? Brush piles, I'm sure a lot of folks are working on brush piles right now. Thanks for the pictures from Stuart, Michael and Mary and Paul. Those of you that were able to get them burned up with that deep snow, congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, thank you.
Holy smokes. Our snow is fading right now, so our Fresh Start crew was burning piles today. We've been trying to seed before we lose the snow, but you have a little bit more time here before we lose this. I think we're going to have more winter in a few weeks, sounds like. So remember, we need snow cover for burning piles. It's always better to have snow cover for seeding, but not necessarily critical. Got a couple, I think the next slide here, Claire.
I just want to point out that Mary and Paul and Michael were out there on like a -degree day. You're doing this today? It's so cold, which I'm sure others of you were doing that as well. I just kudos to you guys out there doing that.
Yeah. We've been doing really well this year with our brush pile burning policies and procedures checklist. We've only had one incident so far. At the beginning of winter, it seems like beginning of winter, we always, people need a reminder and there's some issues. So we did have a fire department respond in the middle of the night somewhere, but no one of your parks. Does anyone have any questions about burning brush piles, policies, procedures, etc.? Really important, been a big bugaboo for us for a while. But everyone's been doing a really good job from what I can tell since that first incident.
And remember, it's now past the first of the year, so now it is the DNR's jurisdiction that you cannot be burning those piles. Well, not just our rules.
In the intensive northwest part of Dane County, so DNR supersedes everyone there now. No questions about this? We good?
No snow, no burning.
Is this an updated form from the one we got previously?
Yeah, we have updated it maybe what was it, 2 years ago, Claire? Tom put maybe a year ago?
I want to say it was not last year, but the year before.
Okay. So you may have the current one. If you don't, it's on our website.
Yeah.
Send us a
I'll just
note.
get the-
Yeah, just send us a note, we can email it.
Yeah, I've got some ready to do, and I'll wait for, we'll get some snow in March.
Yep.
Time for Lars's favorite book.
Oh my God.
I put this slide together this morning because I thought it was appropriate and cute. So I don't know. I can talk about this, Lars, or you
Go
can
for
talk about it. All right. Well, Lars brought to light this very cool book, and unfortunately, I don't have any pictures of the inside illustrations, but it's called a Healthy Nature Handbook. Illustrated Insights for Ecological Restoration from Volunteer Stewards of Chicago Wilderness, edited by Justin Pepper and Don Parker. It's a beautiful book, and we are looking to buy some copies of it to give out for you all land stewards doing great work. Unsure yet how that's going to work out. It's not that expensive, but expensive enough. But if you're interested, Lars, you can probably speak to the points about why it's super cool, but it's showcasing the work that you all are doing exactly, but just in Chicago. And it showcases different ways of doing the work.
Yeah, Chicago Wilderness or Chicago area has great programs down there, very well developed, a lot of leaders in restoration line of work, and they put out great publications. This is a recent one that is well illustrated, has a lot of very useful practical content in it related to all aspects of doing restoration in parks. And I liked that it talked quite a bit about the culture of restoration and the importance of building teams and relationships. A lot of what we're doing here is social. So we have these coffee hours. It's not always just pounding out, the work in the field. It's about building bridges and socializing and building networks. And those relationships pay off on the land. And at the heart of it all, we're social creatures. So it's very interesting insights that I think everyone in this room would find some nugget of value in this book. So we'll have some copies someday, and I can't wait. Go and see if you can't get one offline. I think they're like $20 or something. Very
For the
well.
library.
I don't know if it's in the library yet.
Recommend it.
Yeah, they'll have it soon enough.
No, Lars, when I was working at the Arboretum at ecological restoration, people in Chicago area have to buy whatever names. They offered the greatest insight. This is 40 years ago, I think. And it was just, everybody else is, we did this and we did that. D9 cat, that's some ryegrass seed, all the way to, the right phenotypes and everything. Everybody in between, those people, no matter what they were doing, they offered insights.
Yeah.
That long ago. So yeah, I highly recommend anything comes out of Chicago.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Smart answer to your question, Ever. It's the wilderness in Chicago. There's some great parks outside Chicago.
It's supposed to be kind of
I don't know
a
that.
provoking kind of name, Chicago Wilderness, because there is no wilderness. But
Oh, okay, so it's on two.
yeah.
Like you said, I thought it.
Didn't that book about tall grass restoration come out of the Chicago area? It was in the 90s. That was our Bible for a while. We didn't have a lot of sources of information for managing prairies. So they must have a well-established group of people.
Are those the people that did the restoration that we talked about at the last?
No.
Coffee hour?
No.
That whole stretch along the Discovery River?
No, different. Yeah. That's all we got. Other questions?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, this is sort of, this is applicable. I'm doing my best to eliminate plastic from my life. And so I have some suggestions. It's really, really difficult. But I'm wondering if, like for the seed weighing, maybe you could get like little paper bags. Like there are some nice non-waxed paper bags, sandwich bags that you can get in the grocery store, well, some grocery stores. And then staple them or tape them, or well, staple them, please. Because I see so many plastic bags there, and a lot of them do get reused, like at the road, but a lot of them get thrown away. And I love it that you guys keep reusing them and reusing them, but I really wish that everybody could do their best to figure out alternatives to the plastic that big business, big petroleum makes it impossible for us to avoid. So, thanks for that.
Good comment. We have been in discussions about this kind of thing and plastic
great.
bottles and all that sort of stuff.
Great. Yeah, the plastic bottles the water bottles at the work parties. I mean, I've been desperate in taking advantage of them when I forgot my water bottle, so I've been glad that they're there without emergency, but.
Yeah, loud and clear. Yeah.
We've been chastised before.
Right.
We've been chastised before.
I'm having a little trouble with the volunteer hours system, the computer system, the ISMTrack. So is there anyone who can help me later on with that? My desktop computer web root security system does not like the ISMTrack system. A little exclamation point comes up, and I'm having trouble getting into it. So, is there a mobile application?
There is a mobile. Did you had that sheet that's
Yeah,
all about ISMTrack?
Yeah.
There's a Matt Walrath's email on there. Did you contact him?
I haven't, but that's what I should do.
So he's like kind of our point person for he gets you into that system. He approves your account. He assigns you the site. So like, Bill, you were having issues. Did he assign you Indian Lake site? Do you know?
I can now get into the site, but I can't, none of the drop downs are
You don't
populated.
see any of the locations. So
I haven't heard back from him.
He's a newer hire to this position. I'm sure he might be still trying to understand it all. But we should. He's been someone I'm trying to meet with to discuss the volunteer hours. He's elusive, to put it simply, maybe. So we'll connect with.
I'll try.
Some of us on email, and we can try and figure that out and get him going.
And just a funny, when we were seeding at Donald Park Saturday, there was a ton of snow. We were on a conical hill with rocks on top. But I was with a lot of young guys, and I let them do the high part. And I was holding my bucket, and of course there's dead logs all over covered with snow. Of course I tripped and fell. But they all said, "Way to go, Wendy," because I didn't spill any seed from my bucket. I fell right up my butt and no seed spilled. So it's possible.
They also built a nice seed snowman.
Oh, that was so cute in that photo.
Yeah.
So cute. We had a lot of people that from Texas and Virginia, and they weren't used to a Wisconsin winter. And of course, this has been a weird winter, but they had fun with the snow.
In the volunteer workday descriptions for there's sawyers and haulers, the sawyers, the way it's worded seems to imply that it's only chainsaw work. And so you have to be certified. I guess my experience, like that, well, Lisa, 90% of what I'm cutting in honeysuckle and other stuff that's up to 2 inches or better, the brush cutter just goes through that like butter. And it's like 2x faster than chainsawing. You're not down on your knees. So I would just, I don't know if that's something that the people that organize it, I guess I have one of the county ones. I just keep it in my truck all the time. It's what I use every time I go out. But I don't know about how other folks use them or don't use them.
So
I use it all the time.
on our work days, right, we just have that hauler and sawyer distinction to make it easier for organizing the work days.
Yep.
When someone signs up as a hauler, once they get out to the work day, if we decide that maybe there's too many haulers or like whatever, we'll ask them if they want to use a brush cutter. So, right, yes, it's not inherently clear when someone's signing up if that's an option, but it makes kind of administratively easier. Like it's hard it's a lot of extra work to like add another role when like we don't even know if the site needs a brush cutter. Some of the sites that we go to, they're just chainsaw work.
Okay.
But your point's valid. It's more like as it comes up, if we know a site is sending a lot of brush cutting work, maybe we reach out to the people that signed up as a hauler that day to say, hey, do you want to use a brush cutter?
Okay.
I'd like to have something that kind of hits the gray area between the two. What, you know, I'm a Sawyer too, but, you know, I'll haul brush because I don't have brush haulers, but I always have my lopper, my brush cutter. And I tell the Sawyer that I'm working with, just keep moving along, knock it down and move on, and I'll cut the small stuff. Because he doesn't need to be using a chainsaw to cut something that big or that big, and I've got a, you know, a good fish guard or something. And it's a whole lot more efficient. Than also, if you keep from doing it, I can grab the tree, small tree, and drag it over to the bird pile, then cut it right there. Then I don't have to haul all the stuff. It's very efficient. But try to get that through the Sawyers, and it'd make a whole lot better use of everybody's time if the haulers were had some either, and not always the big ones, but you know, the smaller ones too.
We've had a lot of requests for loppers this year, unusually.
Yeah, which that's an interesting thing. Once we go to better impact, I'm just gonna keep holding up there. It'll be easier to kind of designate other roles.
Okay.
And you know, when we put the schedule out for our work site locations, many months prior, we don't even necessarily know exactly where we're going to be working when that day comes.
Sure.
So there may not be brush. And
Yeah.
so it's hard to say, put a brush position on there, because people are all excited about using the brush cutter, and then going to be brush for them. Sure. Tuesday though, and we had a brush cutter out, and we got a hauler, and had them go to town on some young buckthorn because it worked out.
Yep. For people using loppers, I find it awfully tedious doing this kind of work for long periods of time, and then also Colonel Penicillin doing that for 6 weeks over the Indian Lake, clearing off the hillside that a brush cutter just could not be swung around. I discovered electric shears, pruning shears. Wayne Pauley was working out at Indian Lake, and he had this newfangled tool. He showed me what it was. I bought one, and I'll never go back to loppers again. You can cut up to about 1.5 inches material with just a little squeeze of a finger. You have to discipline yourself to keep that other hand away. But I can't imagine going back to a loppers, because you can just cut through material so fast, so effortlessly, and much more convenient. You can be down on your hands and knees. You're not always out here at the elbows. You just snip, 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 and you got that cluster of honeysuckle laying on the ground in 5 or 10 seconds. But
And is there a
Dane County might
replaceable
buy
battery?
some soon and have some for everybody else. That's my but Dane County, I think, will be.
Are yours the brand that are cut proof?
There aren't any cut proof ones.
I thought Wayne told me that there are. If it senses your skin, they won't go.
Well, they do make table saws that are that sensitive that will stop that spinning 10-inch blade from cutting into your finger more than skin deep. I'm not aware that technology was available for. So the Makita was just a few dollars more than the one that I want. So I did get skeptical, but it'd be nice if they did. Cheers. They're, if you squeeze the trigger, it's going to close.
Yeah, I have also heard, not just from Wayne, that there is one that senses a finger.
Okay.
So if you're gonna get one, I would get that.
Yeah, I would not use the one. Because your finger's gone, yeah.
But that's a very cool tool.
I carry, you know, the big loppers, shorter ones, and I'll just give them to brush haulers. Here, cut that, you know, and just put them to work, you know, and no training necessary.
We got to carry more loppers from now on. A lot of requests this year.
Yeah. We're at time, so just want to be respectful of time. Any other big questions? Otherwise, I'm gonna shut this down and say thanks to Glenn for being online when you jumped on, but thanks. And otherwise, great. Thanks, everyone.